who am I? My name is Zay Frank. That's also my avatar's name. We have the same name. I have been doing online related work for almost, I guess, a little over 10 years now. And in that capacity, I've done a lot of different things. So I've done video, I've programmed toys and games, I've kept up blogs, I've done a lot of participatory projects involving folks. I've actually worked in the world of advertising and marketing for a stretch. So yeah, I think I'm probably emblematic of a new breed of people that make their living and spend most of their time in the online virtual space. When we have media experiences, often, and the really wonderful ones especially, you have a sense of being transported, not only in the narrative imagination of the piece, the story of it, and the images, if it's a movie or something like that, but you are transported emotionally. You are part of a completely virtual experience. And when you walk out of the theater, you have this jarring moment where the street in front of you collapses, or not collapses, there's a Necker-cube effect, right? It vibrates, where the tensions of the real are brought up against the virtual emotional space that you've occupied during that last 2 hours. And what happens to that energy, right? What happens generally is there's a dissipation. You know, you might talk to the person that you experienced it with and sort of try to come to terms with what just happened to you. But it's a real thing. And on the other hand, we sort of have to cast it away. There's no real way for us to move forward with some of that experience. Once in a while, you might get inspired to do something with your life because of a wonderful, rich experience with a book or a movie. But in the world of online, there is an immediate way that you can respond to the things that come up in you. And in that, there's a lot of potential. There's potential to take that potential emotional energy and convert it into something kinetic, into something real. A response, like a comment and things like that, are very easy path of least resistance. Unfortunately, they're also probably vulnerable to a lack of filter because there's so much in the present, and it overpowers any kind of conventions or sort of thought structures that we use to categorize and understand these things. But there's tons of potential for getting people to actually participate, to take a moment to reflect, to make something out of their experience. Because I think pretty strongly that when you have an emotional self and you have a rational self, and they seem to be split to some degree, and a lot of times there is a problem in the way that they connect to one another. The rational side tries to attach causality. This is why I feel this way, or anything like that, but it's not until you get the opportunity to do something, to write something, to create something, that you really get a chance to explore all the different strands and all the different possibilities around why you're reacting like that. And so, I think of that as being a fundamental characteristic of this new, I guess, the value of participation in and of itself. It allows people to take these media-related emotional experiences and immediately react to them. Put themselves into them. Does that make sense? Creativity and the act of creating things is a fundamental life force. It just is part of the human experience. You put something down in front of a child and they start playing with it. They start trying to make something out of it. They start, I guess, trying to explore their relationship to the world by using these things. That's what drawing is, for example. You're trying to understand, the rest of the world by creating representations of it or shifting things around. And it's also an expression of individuality. And I think it's an inherent quality of people. We are creative beings. I mean, it's what gives us a leg up and has allowed us to change the world so much. I think that obviously basic needs need to be met first. So for a large part of history, a lot of people's, we were in worse condition than we are today. And obviously there's a long way that we have to go, and billions of people are in positions where they don't have, and will not for quite some time, have access to the kinds of tools that we're talking about here. But I sincerely hope that they will, and I believe that as soon as they do, there's going to be a lot of playing going around and a lot of self-expression. I think it's, like I said, part of the human experience. I feel very fortunate that I've been able to work in the way that I do and explore all these different avenues. And I think that there's many, many, many ways of having a rich and fulfilling life. And I think that there's ways of applying creative skills to even the most mundane sorts of job. I don't think that you have to constantly try new things or be involved in media to the extent that I am. To say that you're living a creative life. But that said, my experience of the world anyways is this constant re-exploration of why I'm here at all. And I use the tools that are available to me, and the tools that I've, I guess, have relied on now for a number of years to ask those questions, and to the best I can answer them for myself, and most of the time with no success. but interesting things do happen. The real connective value in a lot of things sometimes just happens in an instant and then it's gone. It's the value of the project as a whole might not encapsulate that over time. Or if somebody, I at one point was getting a lot of hate mail, and it was about a political project that I'd done. And so what I did was I created a very clever little commentary on it, which was I put all the hate mail together in an origami square that people could then print out and make origami with, and I called it Angrigami. Which is a nice, little pun and everything like that. And I was very proud of myself for the dealing with it in that way. But then somebody made a rose and submitted a photograph to me of a rose that he had made out of this hate that was coming towards me as a commemoration on the day that his uncle died. And that's, there's something like very powerful about that for me. What he did actually was I was sort of searching around for a way of dealing with this hate, and I came up with a clever solution. And he really did something with it. He said, "Oh, okay, that's what you're trying to do? You're trying to dissipate this feeling of hatred? Well, this is how you do it. You use it to commemorate someone's death. You don't even allow it to have that irony. You just use it." It's incredible. Something that I could not have done. I don't know if what we're ushering in is better media, because I don't really know what the word better refers to. I mean, I do think that there are ways that you can say that there are absolutes about quality. I mean, I think that humans have certain potentials for excellence, but I don't think that there's necessarily just one result. So I don't know if by today's standards, we're going to be creating better goods, better creative goods by today's standards. But I do think from an experiential level, in the way that we experience, for example, if when we experience something, like a song, and as we're experiencing it, we're reacting to it emotionally or with memory, and we know that we have a way of responding to that in a way that can be heard and that can validate our experience of that piece of music. Is that better? You know, I think it is. I think it is. I think that that's, you know, even outside of a question of the quality of the media itself, I think that that experience of media and that expectation of media is a good thing. I think you could say that it's a bright time for creativity. I think that certainly one aspect of it is it's very hopeful and wonderful in that so many people have access to the tools and the distribution. I think that on the other hand, we're at a time where we don't know how to value creative effort. We're struggling with that. Like, what does it mean? What does it mean for a lot of people to make things? How do I value it? How do I even assign monetary value to someone who wants to spend their life making things? You know, this has been controlled by big businesses and very, you know, arcane and specific laws around copyright and patent and things like that. But those things were put in place so that artistic people could make a living, ostensibly, right? But we're wrestling with that right now. And so I think that, you know, it's a very bright spot right now for creativity as a whole. But I think we've got a lot of work to do about defining the role of creativity in society. It's hard to find kind of correlates in history for what's going on right now, because I think that, you know, this idea of creativity and trying to get concepts across in a particular way, it's all bound together. I mean, we tend to think of it from the perspective of art or something specific like that, but creativity is such a fundamental force. I mean, it applies to almost anything. So the rules change so much. I mean, obviously we had to be much better attuned at speaking in public and the subtleties of person-to-person interaction, physical interaction, even 100 years ago. I mean, you know, you can bet that when a political campaign went on and these guys were touring around and giving speeches off the back of trains, man, they were kicking butt. You know, they were like, they really knew how to harness all, you know, the craft of speech. And you think back to Marcus Aurelius and the great speechwriters of ancient Greece and Rome, and just how incredible this, you know, the depth. I mean, you know, memorizing 3-hour talks, 6-hour talks, you know, just incredible stuff. So it's always been applied, and it's always had in every, I think, generation, even in the Dark Ages, probably in a stranger degree, but you know, there's always been folks that have been able to push this stuff. But like, you know, it's different twists on the same problem.